As you probably already know, at the last minute, Joe Rogan has made his endorsement, shocking a few people, I guess, in endorsing Donald Trump. And so he put out this statement, the great and powerful Elon Musk, which of course invokes the Wizard of Oz in a way that I'm not sure Joe Rogan is intending. But anyway, if it wasn't for him, we'd be effed. He makes what I think is the most compelling case for Trump you'll hear, and I agree with him every step of the way. For the record, yes, that's an endorsement of Trump. Enjoy the podcast. I won't, but anyway, so he has made his endorsement. He has a very large audience, Joe Rogan does. It's one of the biggest podcasts in the world, depending on which platform and which day. Some people think that Tucker Carlson is now more popular because he's more fully embraced conspiracy theories. Obviously, Joe Rogan fans already massively favored Trump, but even those might be more inspired to actually go out and vote as a result of this endorsement. So we're gonna get to some reactions to this and I'll give more of my reactions, but what do you make of this?
Well, I'm actually gonna go to one of your reactions first because it relates to two things that you mentioned. Stephen Blakesley said, I just wanted to waited in the longest line I've seen for voting. Let's all stay Kamala. Look, every election cycle we hear about the long lines, and we think long lines in cities are a good thing for Kamala Harris. But for the right wing, they're absolutely convinced that Trump is gonna win. So if you go on X and you suggest that Trump's not gonna win, it's not that they're like, oh boo, we hate you. They think you're crazy.
Yeah.
They think it's the most obvious thing in the world that Trump is going to win. So many things that they believe are true are not true. So that brings us to Joe Rogan. So I'm in an interesting spot with Rogan because I'm in favor of populism. I'm in favor of as much speech as possible. So I'm not a guy who says shut him down, cancel him, etc. And I get that as he says often, I don't know that much about politics, but unfortunately he talks a lot about politics.
Nonstop.
Right? Yeah, and so he had Trump on for 3 hours, and it was look, it was the most softball interview of all time, right? And so I don't know that he would disagree with that. He didn't ask him any hard questions at all. Kamala Harris didn't go on, he did. So, and does Rogan really make any political sense? Kind of, and kind of not. If you look at him and say, well, before he endorsed Bernie Sanders, now he's endorsing Donald Trump, how does that make sense, right? Well, if you look at it on the left-right spectrum, it makes no sense at all. They're on exact opposite ends, right? Now, having said that, I wrote an op-ed for Newsweek recently saying, well, there's a second political spectrum, which is populist versus establishment. And there, Bernie and Donald are on the same end. Now, theoretically, John and I think will agree that Donald Trump's a fake populist and all he does is corporate tax cuts and giveaways to his donors. But he talks a mean populist game, and the Rogans of the world have totally bought into it, right?
I agree.
Same with JD Vance, when in reality, JD Vance is a venture capitalist, okay? And he's funded by Peter Thiel. He was created by Peter Thiel, a Silicon Valley billionaire, in a petri dish, right?
And Joe Rogan is one of the richest people in the world.
Yeah, and so to me, Rogan saying Trump is kind of borderline obvious, given his populist streak, given that his audience is overwhelmingly right wing. And this is something that I've talked about, and it gets under his skin, but it's reality. There's audience capture for Rogan, and because he's spectacularly wealthy, he doesn't have to run any grifts, right? So, but he gets captured by his audience partly, and he gets captured by the guests. The guests are like a steady stream of 80% right wingers. And he's constantly going, oh yeah, you're totally right, oh yeah. So in that milieu, if you will, it is.
I won't.
I hear you, and you shouldn't. It's not surprising that he went Trump. I guess it'll affect some votes, as Taylor Swift affected some votes, but it's misguided. And by the way, the good news is, don't worry, he can easily be talked out of it 2 years from now. Okay,
I guess, yeah.
Right.
Have the last person in the room be someone else. Yeah, I agree. He doesn't need to grift. Grifting is for people who have at most maybe a few $1 million or something like that. He has so much money now that he doesn't have to grift. He potentially would like low taxes, I suppose, which he's much more likely to get under Donald Trump. We're only talking about 10 or $20 million that maybe swing one way or the other depending on who's president. But anyway, yeah, look, Joe Rogan's main thing that he does is sits at a table with people and is completely incapable of ascertaining that they don't know what they're talking about. That is what his legacy is. And so this is the apex, not the endorsement of Trump. I'm not saying that. The apex is he can sit across a table with Elon Musk and he can't tell that Elon Musk doesn't know what he's talking about. And that I think is deeply embarrassing. And I say that knowing, never gonna get invited on Joe Rogan, but I also never was anyway. So I'm comfortable saying that. If you are impressed with Elon Musk, that is a massive indictment of who you are as a person. That is deeply, deeply embarrassing that at this late date, you would still think that Elon Musk knows at all what he's talking about, let alone is the great and powerful person that makes the powerful case for Donald Trump. Elon Musk's case for Donald Trump is, and we can even bring it up. We'll get to the videos, but let's go to graphic 2. If Trump loses, that's America's last election, there will be no escape. Elon Musk's bizarro world case is that Harris is an existential threat to democracy, not the guy who violently tried to overthrow the US government. And that's fine for Elon Musk to say, I guess, but Joe Rogan sits across from him at a table and says, I find this to be a compelling argument, you're right. And I just think, look, I know for some people they think, well, it's Trump or it's Harris, you choose one way or the other. Here's the thing, there are candidates that you may agree with on some ways, and then theoretically there might be like an excuse to not go for them. Donald Trump has given people more off-ramps from doing a terrible thing and supporting them than any other politician in history. For you to go through all these years with Donald Trump and to come out the other side voting for him, you are signing on to so much. Literally just the last 2 weeks, that would be too much for any reasonable person. But Rogan has seen all of it. He's commented on a lot of it along the way, and he comes out the other end okay with this. Thanks for watching our video. Did you know that you can support our show by becoming a subscriber? Just click the subscribe button and also ring the bell so that you get notifications when we're live or when we post new content.